Low Targ, our friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for another Orc Mode workout. And today was Dynamic Effort Lower Day. If you guys would click like down below, please help me keep those likes higher than the dislikes, and let's get into this workout. This workout was hard. This was the hardest workout of the week for me, and I had to dig in deep, and we tried a couple of different things in here. And again, getting everything moving forward. I've got to get my lifts up. We have 2 days every week dedicated to the benching, 2 days dedicated to squat and deadlift. And so we have to really get in and hammer all these weak links. Plus, there's some general fatigue because I am doing more and more GPP. Like my general physical preparedness, I'm trying to get it as high as possible for carryover to these lifts. But today, it's the first time really successfully doing speed work with this bar. I had to learn how to get the band set up. The new rack setup really allowed me some versatility with setting these bands up. And it worked great. I got the exact tension I wanted. I've got it centered the way I want. Very happy with the way the bands went. But my hips just got crushed doing these. I felt so much hip involvement because I dropped the box an inch lower. And again, 10 doubles on this. These were tough, and I felt like I started off a little slow and got faster as I went, but my hips and my quads got lit up. Surprisingly, I felt a ridiculous quad pump on this. You know, hips to a large extent, but I felt a lot of hip on the speed pulls. Okay, but yeah, again, surprised with this because this bar, we think of this bar as building a little more posterior chain due to the swing back, but I guess because of the swing back on it, my quads fired ultra hard coming off that deep box, and especially against the bands. It's probably largely because of the band tension. We hit it so hard, and then it hits, and then that next rep on the way down, I guess that eccentric. But my quads got lit up, and you can see them there. They're looking pumped. I'm only a couple sets in. My quads are pumped. I've also had people ask, what are your breaks on these? They're 60 seconds. Speed bench, speed squat, 60 seconds. I try to do about 30 to 45 seconds on speed deadlifts. But again, this bar, speed work on it, it's different. And I'm going to have to do different bars. And actually, I've got a much, much better safety squat bar ordered, but there is no way I'm going to have it this month. It is just, it's not going to happen. You know, again, we get stuff as we're able to. But I did a lot of research on safety squat bars, a lot of research, and looked at how people describe things, look at dimensions, and I think people might be surprised with the choice that I went with. It was a more economic choice. Okay? It wasn't more expensive than the one I currently have. The one I have now, I'm really unhappy with. Very unhappy with it. Like, it's almost unusable, mainly because of the headaches. But could I work in a newer bar for some of this for speed? Sure. I want to just change bars. We need to get good at the different angles on the squatting. The speed squats have done a lot for building my squat. And I feel like good mornings contribute a lot too. But the speed squats, and again, running that deeper box, and I might at a certain point mess with them and get those speed squats even deeper so that we get that power out of the bottom of the squat, working on hitting that depth. Because we can always max on a little bit higher of a box and it'll carry over fine because of the nature of the box squat. But the speed work, different beast. And someone had asked, what's happened with some of your lighting? I replaced the burned out bulbs. I had bulbs burning out and I was waiting on some better bulbs, and I had put some cheaper bulbs in for a few days, and that changed it a little bit too. But the better bulbs, you're seeing better bulbs. I put some decent LEDs up in there, or whatever you call them. I don't know. I think they're called halogen. I would actually have to check. I'm lying to you guys. I don't actually know what the hell they're called. So I apologize for being dishonest. I kept thinking, what are they? I don't actually know. So let me just retract all of that, right? Let's go over to the training. Speed squatting was brutal today. Like, it didn't give me the headaches and stuff that the safety squat bar had been doing. But again, hammered my quads hard, and you know, felt pretty effective. And like I said, some of these, it started out a little slow. I got faster as I went, but I've got to get used to a new bar, right? That was a little faster. I'm driving as hard as I can. Some people will say, well, you got to get faster. Of course I need to get faster. You got to see my speed bench get faster. You know, and especially changing bars around, it can take a bit. It can take a bit. Plus, it's always hard to get speed against heavy bands. It's kind of the idea. They fight you. But 10 doubles running 50% max with 25% max in band tension. Again, max with this bar. My max with this bar on a box squat has been 535. It's not my best bar in terms of my max, so that's what we're working off of. 50% and 25%. Then I went over and did speed pulls, and I can definitely feel, since I cleaned the knurling, I've been playing with a smooth bar because this bar has been so caked up, and I got in there with 3-in-1 oil and nylon brushes and scrubbed all the knurling out finally. It's hard on my hands. And I know I need the grip work, and so we're doing tons and tons of grip work. My grip work is going to be just more specific to the deadlift, and I've got to toughen my hands up. I think my farmer's carries I'm doing with the handles I have, they tend to blister my hands. That's made this not very comfortable today with that fresh knurling, and it's going to be even worse when I have a deadlift bar. Technically, I'll eventually have 2 deadlift bars. Don't get me started on that. Yes, I paid for 2 deadlift bars. I don't have a deadlift bar, but I bought 2. I just don't have one yet. Eventually, I'll have 2 different brands. But I definitely notice it then on my hands, and so we've got to work on this. We know the grip has got to come up. Grip, 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 grip. And it can't be me doing dynamic stuff from my grip. That just wears my hands out. And it doesn't carry over that well. It's got to be static strength. So barbell holds, all that, they're going to be mainstays for a long, long time. And I'll start setting goals on that. Right? We need to count PRs on that too. PRs, progressive overload on it. Not because the progressive overload creates a better grip strength, is that as grip strength improves, we should see an improvement in what we can double overhand, for example. But yeah, gripping was tough on these. And it took me a bit to get my speed down. Did you guys notice I'm using a slightly different stance? Why? Because this stance is stronger at the lockout and harder off the bottom. This allows for a stronger lock. It gives you more glute involvement. Hey, some of my more recent deadlifts have been a little bit soft on the locking and the grip. So if I can improve the lock strength on the deadlift and my grip, we'll be good to go. So again, the heavy bands help. Using a stance that allows more glute activation at the top helps, and I'll keep building those glutes. And I can always pop off the bottom. I'm good at deficit work. I mean, my best deficit recently was 625 with a stiff bar on a 1-inch deficit. Now, anyone who understands deadlifting understands what that represents. We already know on a deadlift bar, I just have to get my grip caught up. Now, a deadlift bar is easier to grip, but it's also even harder on your hands. But realistically, we know for every inch of deficit, I lose 30 to 40 pounds. We know that a deadlift bar, we can usually lift more. Especially if you're strong at the lockout, your lifts are going to be quite a bit higher on a deadlift bar. Okay? As much as 3%. So my deadlift strength is good, but we need to keep it climbing, keep it climbing. So grip training is going to be the name of the game, but we're still hitting everything else. Like, we're training everything else because eventually the grip will get caught up, and I need the deadlift strength to be there too. Doesn't matter if I'm 20 pounds or 30 pounds short of my potential on the grip. It doesn't mean we quit training everything else, because eventually the grip will get caught up if we just hammer it. But as I got further into these, I got the speed better. Again, getting used to gripping it and getting used to the bands on conventional. I haven't been using heavy band like this for conventional. Right? A little bit getting used to it again. But getting those lockouts, and that's the main thing, getting the full lock at the top. And a lot of that I was missing before, like because I was doing the other stance, I sometimes on my speed work was struggling with the lockouts against bands before when I was using bands on this. So now we're getting into that zone. Getting it all dialed in. But it got better as we went. So yeah, I'm going to mess with this stance for a while. It's a hair wider. Toes are straightforward. Then we did double overhand work. I did 5 sets to failure. I went up 10 pounds. What did I do last time? I believe it was slightly less. I believe it's 365, right? Today I added, there's a little 5 on each side. You don't see them. So 375. Held them till the bar started rolling, squeezing as hard as I can. I did 5 holds, and they obviously near the end they get shorter. All right, goals 405 with this bar. This particular bar, my power bar. I need to get to 405 for these holds. One day, I probably need to be at a 500 double overhand out of the rack. I really and truly want the grip strength that is going to be necessary to be at the level I want to be at. I probably need to get there. But how do we build the grip? We'll lots of rowing. So we're doing lots of rowing. Lots of pulling. So we're doing against bands, all that. But we need to be doing this sort of work. I need to be doing the double overhand grip work. And I'm doing it in a way that I'm not worried about a training effect. You know, I spent way too much time worried about turning some of my exercises into grip exercises at the cost of building muscle with those exercises. Now, let's just do them normal barbells, no axle bar, none of that. So the axle bar has done okay, but it hasn't worked wonders for my grip. We need to be using the normal barbell. That way I can build more muscle on things like the rows. And it builds grip strength because, again, I'm pulling more weight with it for more reps on all those things. Okay. We end up getting grip training, part of it. But I need to be doing these heavy holds, and they need to be for short periods of time. It needs to be with a weight that I can only hold a few seconds. And we do multiple attempts. I'm trying to hold it about as long as a deadlift max would last. But as much weight as I can handle for about 5 tries. And if I do this twice a week, this will improve grip. Like this is grip training at its finest. And again, people are talking about, oh, the rack pull. I'm using a grip train. This isn't, I wouldn't even call this an above the knee rack pull because we're not strapped up and trying to lift 1,000 pounds. It's just grip training. That's it. That's all it is. Then we did the glute bridges. The first set was a little rough, trying to get the range of motion down, getting it dialed in. This is one reason I like to do 5 sets on a lot of these, because sometimes the first set feels awkward, not always the way that I want them to go, and then I get 2 quality sets, and then I'm done. And that's not what we want. So a lot of these lifts, it's like, let's do 5x10s. Part of that is my first set is usually a warm-up set. I should probably make that clear. People always ask me about warm-ups. I'm like, a what? A what? You put 525 on the bar and do 10 reps. That's your warm-up. I don't really do warm-ups. So a lot of times my first set is the warm-up. And then I focus more and more as I get into these of trying to get that better contraction as I kind of get used to it, get the form dialed back in. But today we got another PR. My record when I had the best normal conventional deadlifts that we had tested was 505 for 5x10. Okay, we got 515 earlier this week, or last week actually, Friday. Okay. Today we got 525, 5x10. The goal 550. Long term I need to be able to do 600 for sets of 10. Now, some people will argue about, well, you know, I feel like you could hyperextend at the top. Why do I want to hyperextend my back at the top? Why? I need this to carry over to my deadlift strength. Do we hyperextend on the deadlift? No. I need this to help with my deadlift lockout. I need it to push through the last bit of the range of motion on the deadlift. That's what it's doing. And when we get to that locked position, we're at our weakest. Okay. It carries over. In addition to the fact that it works the quads. But that's a whole other topic. People can say, well, it's only a little bit of quad. But yeah, there's still joint angle specificity. It's quad at the deep position, which carries over to the bottom of your squatting. That's a secondary effect. I feel a lot of quad on these, by the way. My quad actually gets sore. I feel it in the tendons of my lower quads. So I feel it a lot there. especially after. I get DOMs in that area sometimes the next morning after doing these. Okay. But 550, that's the goal. Short term. Long term, I need to be at 600. It's like the good mornings. Like I need to get to 405 for sets of 10 on any good morning. Any good morning variation. Which we're working towards. Realistically, if I were to extrapolate it over, I probably need like something like a 420 for 10. I mean, if we want it to contribute to a 600 good morning, isn't that another goal? 600 good morning? Well, I probably need to be closer to that. I need to be up there close to like 420, 415. But 405 is the goal on that. Then we did this beast. Oh my God. I need more upper back. I need more thoracic extension. I mean, let's talk about big movements that train thoracic extension. This does. And my God, if I prescribed more of these to my clients, I've only had 2 clients ever do these. I have a feeling a lot of my clients would fire me. A lot of my clients would fire me if I made them do these. These were beastly hard. With 315 sets of 10 on a snatch grip deadlift, these were brutally hard. I will go so far as to say that if you could do 405 for 10 on these, you're probably a 700-pound deadlifter. I'm saying that as a low 600s to mid 600s deadlifter. Doing the 315, wow. Now, granted, my upper back is one of the weak links in my body. And not only were these fatiguing, I felt my lats, my rear delts, my T-spine, my traps, all of that stuff just got crushed. You know how you feel a lot of times on rows in your lats and all that after doing heavy rows? I felt all of that on these. Doing it for 10s instead of just like 5s, this is totally legit back work. But the other thing, I need thoracic extension. These will build it. I need that thoracic extension. It's a weak link in my squatting. Okay. So this fits the bill. In fact, this can replace even me messing with rows on these. I can always do more rows on my upper body days, and I think that's the way I'm going to go. I'm only going to row twice a week. I'm going to use the same variation stuff I've been doing. If I need to do more sets, I can go up to 6 to 10 instead of 5 on those days. I really want to push that volume. And I'm going to do stuff like this. I can't just row. I really need stuff that's going to help my squat and deadlift even more. I've got to build that upper back. My God, did this hit it. In addition to feeling my hips and stuff too with the slightly wider stance. But the pump and the fatigue I got through that upper back. These are legit and they're humbling. I mean, 315, guys, think about that for a moment. I can do good mornings with more than that for 10. Okay? I do good mornings with more than that for 10 rep sets. These are a beast. I guess it's one of those that I couldn't even do 5 sets. I was going to come in and try to do 5 sets. I'm like, 315, it should be light. I remember I did some 5s before with just over 400. I think I messed with it a few months back. Shouldn't be that bad, right? 315 for 10 is what I decided to go with. I didn't think I was going to complete the sets. And then I'm like, there's no way I'm doing a 4th and a 5th. I'll do a different lift to get extra work in. It's just too much. But no, it's legitimate. And again, if you think about the thoracic extension and stuff, there's a reason this is used in weightlifting. It's kind of funny. I'm using 3 different weightlifting supplemental lifts at the moment, right? Pendlay rows, snatch grip, high pulls, now snatch grip deadlifts. And I need to work on getting even wider. This is as wide as I can really get the straps wrapped around. I'll work on it. But I've looked at this and it's like, can you imagine if you could do 10 reps with 405 on this movement? How strong you would be. Because again, I pull over 600. So if we look at that, the axial loading, though, that's the benefit. The axial loading is fairly light. There's a reason this is a good hypertrophy exercise in spite of being a deadlift. Okay. And again, it smashed my whole back. I felt just as much lat as I do on a set of rows. But the upper back and the hips, they got crushed. Absolutely crushed. That is one of the hardest lifts I've ever done. Again, I didn't think I was going to make it through 3 sets. Like, I don't know if I can finish this. All right, then up next, the first set of these didn't go as good. I went with a little bit more low bar position, too much bulldog skin. The next 2 sets I did a high bar. These are challenging. And yeah, this is a lightweight. Going to the dead stop with straight legs, this is humbling too. You're like, why do you do all these different variations? Why are you doing the hard stuff? Why don't you just stick with stuff you're really strong at? Well, I'm going to keep doing this stuff I'm strong at. I'm going to keep doing like my Cambered Bar regular ones and stuff like that. And I'm going to set strength goals. I need to get to 405 for 10 on that. I need to get that up to 600 for a max. But I need to be doing the other versions too. I need to be doing some stiff leg stuff. I need to be doing from the dead stop stuff. So this I'm hitting those safety straps, but then letting it completely unload. So we'd lose any stretch reflex. That first rep is really hard off there. It's really hard doing that first rep. You got to get into position. Okay. Again, this is a case of this version are really lightweight because we have straight legs, high bar position. I bet you with a safety bar that doesn't kill my neck, it would be ridiculous on these. But I felt all of my erectors. Felt lats. I felt a lot of mid trap, low trap. All my erectors all the way up to the neck. They got hit. In addition to the hamstring work. Good amount of hamstring. Hey, this will build the back too. Because I need that back. I need the back, guys. And again, this is just as hard. I felt on the T-spine type area, I think this is just as hard in a different way as the snatch grip deadlifts. But again, we push ourselves. And we push ourselves with these humbling exercises. You know what? If they suck, it's because they bring out our weaknesses. These 2 lifts are exposing my weaknesses. And that's why they suck. They're fatiguing, even with lightweight, like comically light. I mean, for me, guys, think about how much weight you see on that bar. Okay. It's like 162 pounds. Oh my God. That's ridiculously light for me on a good morning. Guys, I good morning over 500 pounds with 2 different bars. I'm trying to get to 405 for 10 with one of those bars. Sets of 10 on this with 162. In that position with the straight legs, having to drive it off the safeties with a dead stop. It's humbling. Now, we didn't get as much hip. We didn't get all that glute. But as far as the thoracic erectors, a lot of mid and lower trap, hamstrings, those all got crushed. So again, these humbling exercises, and you know what, they suck, and people can see this and be like, oh, Blaha's lifting a silly lightweight, 162 on a good morning, Mr. 515 max. So you think of the snatch grip deadlifts, I pull over 600 pounds. You've seen me deficit pull 625 recently. 315 on those snatch grip deadlifts for sets of 10 is hard. That's harder to me than just walking in and pulling 600 pounds. It's hard. We've got to put the work in on these hard exercises. Shore up those weak links. That's how we get strong. That's how we get better. That's how we reach our potential when we become a champion. Okay? And that's the goal, guys. That is the goal. Get thick as peanut butter and get stupidly strong. All right, went up on weight on these. The first set I wasn't happy with. I haven't looked at the footage yet. It probably doesn't look very good. Actually, it's better than I thought. The next 4 sets were good. So I bumped the weight because I've realized as I've messed with this, the position that really lets me work my erectors the most is where I maintain that 45 degree almost position and hold on to the safeties or the little handles. Okay, we hold on to the handles. and I don't let it swing all the way forward. So I control it at the bottom, just try to squeeze my upper back at the top to the range of motion to where I feel the upper back contract, and then again, squeeze it, come back down, and control and don't let it swing forward. I mean, the range of motion can be longer on this, but we lose that traction benefit. But with these angles, I feel like I can end up getting stronger and stronger and putting a lot of weight on there. This weight was hard. It was challenging, though. It's good enough. For those curious, it's 8 total plates plus a 25. So, you know, we're getting up there. It's like 385. Okay. What do I need to be at? Let's extrapolate this technique over to Darden's math. 65% of your target deadlift max. So for me, that's 425 on this. That's where I need to be. What about when we talk about a 700 deadlift? Oh, we need to extrapolate that over. That needs to be a goal too. We get to put all these together and come up with goals, can't we? What do we need? We need a 600 good morning for a max. Means probably 415 to 420 for 10s. Okay. We need a 600 for 10s on the glute bridge. We need whatever we need on this. I would need to go run the math again. It's probably going to be another 30 pounds. It's probably going to be something like 450 or 460. I'll extrapolate the math over later. We need to get there on all these lifts and have the grip to hold 700. Okay. That's how we do it. That's what we have to do. We take all these supplemental lifts and we have strength goals on those because they carry over and represent a different 1 rep max. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.